say it's a lack of after-school activities. Others say it's a society that has become desensitized to violence. Whatever the reason, though, gang violence is on the rise. It's estimated now that almost 500,000 young Americans belong to gangs. And it's no longer just teenage boys. Girl gangs are fighting for their own identities, and they're proving they can be just as ruthless as their male counterparts. Rosemary Gomez now with part 2 of her special report, Gangs in the Hood. Some of the teenagers you're about to meet are minors, and therefore their identities are concealed.
Who you calling the pigs? Yo, D! What happened to you, man? I've been waiting and waiting, man.
It's Friday, and 15-year-old Mo is making plans for the night. She left her 1-year-old daughter at home, and now Mo's hanging out with Dorothy in the shadows of the Fort Greene projects in Brooklyn. Behind the baby faces are 2 former members of a gang called Kill 'Em.
Why you trying to jump in front of the bullet, young lady?
We kept on robbing people, slicing people and everything, and that's how it went.
Mo claims she joined the gang when she was 10 and was kicked out of school after bringing a 9mm to class. That's when she graduated to another gang called CIA, Criminals in Action.
Before I was just like, I need some money, so I gotta go get some money. And that's when I just started going robbing and everything, and that's how I used to get my money.
Mo decided to bail out of gang life when things got too hot, but getting out of other gangs isn't as easy.
When I was trying to get out of it, I had people who were calling my house threatening me. I had people who were calling my house threatening my friends.
As a teenager, Isis Sapp became a diva of destruction. She and her friends traded books for box cutters, rising to the top of a gang known as the Deceptinettes. Its mission, to terrorize people on subways and anyone who crossed the gang's path.
This was around a time where a lot of the material things were very important to us as kids. The polo coats and the Gucci's and all of the gold jewelry. That was so important because we really didn't have anything else to build up our self-esteem.
Gang experts say they've heard that line before.
They want structure. They want somebody to tell them what to do. They want somebody to tell them how to dress. They want somebody to tell them where to go. They want somebody to just take over their life.
Most of the girls we spoke with said their gangs started right here in school. That's where the trouble began before it spilled out into the streets.
At my Sweet 16 party, instead of having a regular party, there was a brawl in my house. So we had 2 guys that got shot, and I remember just in a pink dress on the floor fighting, trying to get these girls out of my house.
At 22, Isis is aiming for graduate school and now works with kids to keep them from making the same mistakes she did.
Where do you think you would have been if you kept up with them?
I don't think I would be here. I think I would either be in jail or I would either be dead.
But jail is no escape from gangs. Law enforcers say it's just the start for a gang they consider one of the deadliest around, called the Latin Kings. It's run from behind bars and claims a growing membership outside prison cells. And along with the kings come the Latin queens.
We're not pushed to the bottom. We can rise to the top. And that's one of the things I like about this organization. Women have a place in it, and a very definite place.
The Spanish-speaking gangs, their society, the females play a very dominant role in that. And in their gangs, they do the same thing.
Beatrice Codiani Robles has been crowned one of the highest-ranking Latin queens, but the word gang won't pass her lips. She insists it's a fraternal organization she says she would die for.
I would sacrifice my life for this organization. I am sacrificing it in bits and pieces.
And among the Queen's family is a new generation that includes the youngest of Latin princesses.
Tomorrow in part 3 of her special report, Rosemary reports on the inner workings of the Latin Kings. Criminal experts tell us a new kind of family life is emerging in the 90s, and it's coming in the form of gangs. Young kids looking for acceptance are finding it in the gangs that they live and fight and eventually sometimes die for. One of the groups getting the attention of law enforcement is called the Latin Kings. That group claims that it's a benevolent one, just looking out for young Latinos, but police say that it's run from behind prison bars and is one of the deadliest groups around. Tonight, Rosemary Gomez concludes her special report, Gangs in the Hood.
From the hands that pull the trigger to the hands that salute the almighty Latin King nation. Law enforcement officials believe one hand is connected to the other, and they're taking notice. It's a scene that could look like it's straight out of Bosnia, but it's actually Bridgeport, Connecticut. Police claim these so-called Terminators are a splinter group of a deadly organization known as the Latin Kings. Less than 24 hours before this video was taken, cops raided the gang and confiscated its weapons. But members were soon prancing in the streets with Uzis, shooting out street lamps to let the neighborhood know who's in control.
The streetlights had only been put up earlier in the day, and the gang wanted the neighborhood to be back the way that they were comfortable in working, which is under the cover of darkness.
When we do this, we say, Amordache, Amordachena. Love the queen, love the king.
Latin Kings say this is what they represent, the universal symbol for love. The group was formed in 1940, and in Connecticut alone it claims 8,000 members, many of them from behind bars. Law enforcement officials say wherever there's a prison, there's a local LK chapter, both inside the cell and out.
I saw the potential. I mean, there's a lot of potential for good here, and that's why I became involved.
Beatrice Coriani Robles joined after her son became a member in prison. She's now one of the highest-ranking members, and while she reports to the ruling Latin King who's behind bars, she denies the group is a gang or that it advocates violence.
Got to do a mission. It could be anything from shootings to beating up people, to even shooting cops.
But Detective Pablo Otero claims the Latin Kings have put out contracts on cops, including him. He's worked the streets and doesn't buy the royal claims of doing good. The sergeant believes members are pawns for something bigger than a benevolent organization.
These gangs are businesses. It's what they are. Narcotics business.
I'm not going to say that there's members who do not sell. Okay, they, for whatever reason, it's a poor economy out there, and they're out there doing what they have to do.
State corrections officials would not confirm exactly how many Latin kings and queens are currently incarcerated in Connecticut, but members can be found in almost every prison in the state. In fact, in recent crackdowns on security risk groups, Latin kings have been at the top of the list. Beatrice is no longer allowed to visit her son and husband in prison and claims she's under constant police surveillance. Like most members, she doesn't hide her affiliation, wearing the black and yellow beads that are the group's trademark. The group lives by its own constitution that reads like a charter for a fraternal organization. But police say there's more between the lines.
If that's all they were involved in was a support group to better their ethnic group, that would be great. Everyone would support that. But when the evidence shows that they are involved in criminal enterprises, it just doesn't wash.
I'm supposed to control the violence, not let it happen. When they have a problem, I get the problem fixed.
Mad Dog became a king after a fight in prison. Like other members, he filled out the forms about his family history and pays $5 a week in dues. It doesn't seem like much, but it's bought a lot of loyalty from members who'll do anything to protect the Latin Kings.
It's no limit, Go to jail, whatever it takes.
Law enforcement officials say because Latin Kings are listed as a high security risk inside prison, the leaders are sometimes transferred out of state, and that, they say, is how other chapters of Latin Kings spring up across the country. And while the Latin Kings have chapters here in New York, Connecticut law enforcement says the gang is more prominent in a state like Connecticut because there are fewer rival gangs there than here in New York City.